I am never upset for the reason I think. We are on lesson 5 from the workbook of A Course in Miracles. Hello, I'm Carla, psychotherapist and mindset coach, and on this channel, I help you get unstuck and reach your goals by exploring topics that shift your mindset so you can live your highest potential. All right, we are on lesson 5 from A Course in Miracles workbook. I am never upset for the reason I think. I'm going to change it up here because I made a commitment to go through every single lesson, 365. And what I was doing is I was reading the whole lesson from this book, from my version of A Course in Miracles. This one's from the Foundation for Inner Peace. And then I was reading the breakdown from Ken Wapnick's book. He has, I'll put a picture here too, but it's the journey through the workbook of A Course in Miracles. And it's really detailed notes. If you're not familiar with Kenneth Wapnick, he was one of the most prolific writers when it comes to A Course in Miracles and really breaking it down in a way that you can understand. Because these workbook lessons can kind of be really frustrating or hard to grasp. I know I sure had a really tough time when I was going through the workbook for the first time. So if that's you, these videos will really help. So I say all that to say, I am not going to read the full lesson. I assume that if you're watching this video, you have the workbook or you can find the lesson online. My intention for these videos is to go lesson by lesson and read the notes that Ken wrote because they're so helpful in understanding the lesson deeper and making it more simple. So I encourage you to get your own book, your own copy of A Course in Miracles, go through the lesson of the day, and then come here as a supplement to kind of hear the notes that Ken has about each lesson. Let's dive in. Lesson 5, I am never upset for the reason I think. This is one of my favorite lessons. It is so helpful and it works all the time. This is one of the lessons I frequently quote, for it goes to the heart of our practice. We obviously think we are upset because of what is going on in the world and how it impinges upon us. But the only reason we are upset, which is not explicitly taught here, although implied, is that we choose the ego as our teacher instead of Jesus. He quotes a little bit from the workbook from the actual lesson. This idea, like the preceding one, can be used with any person, situation, or event you think is causing you pain. Apply it specifically to whatever you believe is the cause of your upset, using the description of the feeling in whatever term seems accurate for you. The upset may seem to be fear, worry, depression, anxiety, anger, hatred, jealousy, or any number of forms, all of which will be perceived as different. This is not true. However, until you learn that form does not matter, each form becomes a proper subject for the exercises for the day. Applying the same idea to each of them separately is the first step in ultimately recognizing they are all the same. Expressed here, again, is the paradox that we are to keep practicing with specifics so that we can learn that everything is the same and not specific. Indeed, this is a central theme of the process given us in A Course in Miracles that will eventually awaken us from the dream. By practicing forgiveness each and every time we experience upset or dis-ease, the form of our discomfort, we shall become aware of the underlying content of guilt that is the source of discomfort. Let me read that again. Let's really let that sink in. By practicing forgiveness each and every time we experience upset or dis-ease, the form of our discomfort, we shall become aware of the underlying content of guilt that is the source of discomfort. That is when we finally learn the inherent sameness of all illusions. At this point, they will disappear, leaving only the content of love, our only comfort, and the true source of peace. This lesson is extremely important because we all get upset and we are always sure about the cause. This helps us realize that we are not upset because of what is outside, but only because of the way we are looking at what is outside. That's what I love about this course. It shifts the perception. It's all that inner work. It's an inside job. Shakespeare even said it. Nothing is good or bad. Our thinking makes it so. Two people can experience the same thing, but they have two different experiences internally, process it, and then relate to the world differently depending on how they perceive whatever just happened. Let me just read that again. This helps us realize that we are not upset because of what is outside, but only because of the way we are looking at what is outside. So again, it's not the thing outside of us, the person, the situation. It's the way we are looking at it, thinking about it, that's causing us upset. The lesson-specific assignment of identifying the specific form of upset and the cause we ascribe to it is as follows. When using the idea for the day for a specific perceived cause of an upset in any form, use both the name of the form in which you see the upset and the cause which you ascribe to it. For example, I am not angry at blank for the reason I think. I am not afraid of blank for the reason I think. I use this on my flight. I am not afraid of turbulence for the reason I think. Jesus now quickly moves us from the bodily world of feelings to the mind's world of our thoughts. Jesus returns us to the mind-searching aspect of his training. We are to become accustomed to looking within, learning to pay attention to our heretofore repressed guilt, the ultimate source of what we think are our upsets. In these exercises, more than in preceding ones, you may find it hard to be indiscriminate and to avoid giving greater weight to some subjects than to others. It might help to precede the exercises with this statement: there are no small upsets. They are all equally disturbing to my peace of mind. We would all tend to discriminate. When something minor upsets us, we think we are only mildly annoyed. Then later in the day, something major happens and we become really angry, and we think there is a difference. This is the issue we have been addressing. The ego has us reaffirm the principle that there is a hierarchy of illusions, since this is one of its primary defenses against the oneness of God. The specificity of the dualistic world belies the unified reality of divine abstraction, to use a term from the text. This is the reality the ego never wants us to remember or reflect here, since that means the end of the ego. So it's saying the ego keeps reaffirming this principle that there is a hierarchy of illusions, that shouldn't upset us, but then that does. That, oh, it's just a little upset, and that's a really big upset, so that's more important. All of it's an illusion, and none of it's really making us mad. It's all in here. If it disturbs our peace even a little bit, it's just as equal to the biggest upset. Anything that disturbs our peace is not of God. Jesus continues his instructions to us in the same vein. He tells us to examine our minds for whatever is distressing us, regardless of how much or how little we think it is doing so. You may also find yourself less willing to apply today's idea to some perceived sources of upset than to others. If this occurs, think first on this: I cannot keep this form of upset and let the others go. For the purposes of these exercises, then, I will regard them all as the same. Any little upset will be the same as any big upset, whether it be an annoying fly or a big turbulent blast when you're on an airplane. Anything that upsets us, we will treat as the same, and we will use this: I am never upset for the reason I think. I am not angry at this fly for the reason I think. I am not angry at my spouse for the reason I think. I am not afraid of forgetting the words of my speech for the reason I think. I am not afraid of the robber coming into this store right now and holding me at gunpoint for the reason I think. It helps us to eliminate that hierarchy of illusions that the ego wants us to perpetuate. This is what we are saying when tempted to make a hierarchy of what upsets us. And then Jesus reiterates the point in the next sentence of the workbook. He says, then search your mind for no more than a minute or so and try to identify a number of different forms of upset that are disturbing you, regardless of the relative importance you may give them. We can see how many times in these early lessons Jesus reminds us how we continually try to make a hierarchy of our experiences, believing some things are important and others are not. He is training us to realize that they are all the same. Once again, an illusion is an illusion is an illusion. A deeper study of what is taught in A Course in Miracles yields a rather disturbing revelation. When we are upset, we want to be upset, for that proves we are the innocent victims of what the victimizer is doing to us. We shall return to this very important teaching of the Course later, but for now, I can mention two very specific discussions of this in the chapter of A Course in Miracles, The Picture of Crucifixion, text chapter 27, and Self-Concept versus Self, text chapter 31. The remainder of the paragraph repeats the earlier instruction, emphasizing the need to be both specific and gentle in our practice. Whew, wow, okay, so that was lesson 5. I am never upset for the reason I think. Again, remember, as we read the Course, we read the textbook, it teaches us that underlying is guilt. We don't want to feel guilt, so we project out and we're angry at what's out here because we do not want to look within at our own sin, guilt, and fear that we feel. Just really getting in touch with that darkness and forgiving it. But if we keep avoiding it, it's just going to fester and grow and continue to bother us and disturb our peace. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it made sense. Thank you so much for watching these videos. Leave any comments, reach out. I am here with you. Again, thank you for spending your time with me. I will see you for lesson 6.